The atmosphere inside the This Morning studio was already tense long before the cameras rolled. Producers rushed back and forth, whispering urgently into their headsets, trying to manage the strange mood that had descended upon the building ever since the booking of the day's main guest, Prince Harry. For weeks, ITV had promoted his appearance as a candid, emotional conversation. But behind the scenes, nobody was certain how it would play out. Harry had developed a reputation for unpredictable interviews, especially when confronted with difficult questions. Still, Dermot O'Leary and Allison Hammond had agreed to host the segment, though neither of them expected what was about to unfold. At 9:55 a.m., just 5 minutes before Harry was due on set, Allison peeked into the green room. Harry sat stiffly on a sofa, tapping angrily on his phone. His security officer hovered behind him like a shadow. When Allison offered a cheerful, "Good morning, Your Highness. Ready for a lovely chat," Harry didn't even look up. "We'll see," he muttered. Allison raised an eyebrow and slipped out quietly. Dermot was waiting for her in the hallway. "Well," he whispered. She sighed. "He looks tense. Like Megan just texted him something he didn't want to see." Dermot chuckled nervously. "Brilliant. Just what we needed." The floor manager waved at them. 2 minutes. The hosts straightened themselves, pasted on their professional smiles, and took their seats on the curved pastel blue sofa. The countdown echoed through the studio. This morning, going live in 5, 4, 3, 2. The opening music faded. Cameras zoomed in on Dermot and Alison, who greeted viewers warmly before announcing their special guest. "And now," Dermot said, "please welcome Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex." Harry entered with a stiff smile. The polite applause from the small studio crew only seemed to make him more uncomfortable. He sat opposite the hosts, legs tightly crossed, hands clasped in his lap. "Thank you for being with us, Harry," Allison began kindly. "We know you've had a busy week." Harry nodded, but his jaw clenched. "Yes, a very busy week. Lots of misinformation I've had to deal with." Dermot offered a diplomatic smile. "Well, we'll give you a chance to clarify anything you feel has been misunderstood." But instead of responding calmly, Harry exhaled sharply. "I hope this isn't going to be another one of those interviews where I'm attacked." Allison blinked. "Attacked? Goodness, no. We just want an honest chat. A British cup of tea moment." The studio chuckled, everyone except Harry. "Sometimes humor is used to mask disrespect," he said coldly. Dermot's expression flickered. The tension, which had been simmering quietly, now cracked into the open. Producers exchanged panicked looks, but neither host was willing to let the interview collapse. Allison tried switching to a lighter topic. "Your new documentary." Harry cut her off. "Yes, another project people love to criticize without understanding." Dermot leaned forward. "Well, criticism comes with public life, doesn't it? We all get it." Harry's eyes sharpened. "Not like I do. You wouldn't understand what it's like." That was the moment the temperature in the studio dropped. Allison shifted in her seat. Dermot looked stunned, then gave a short, incredulous laugh. "Harry," he said, voice steady but firm, "with respect, you're talking to two people who've been in the public eye for decades. We absolutely understand pressure." Harry's expression darkened. "Not royalty-level pressure." Allison held up a hand, voice gentle but controlled. "We're not comparing our lives to yours, sweetheart. But you can't dismiss people like that. It's not fair." Harry opened his mouth to argue, but Dermot spoke first. Tone sharper now. "You've built your entire brand on wanting empathy. So you've got to give some back." A faint, "ooh," rippled across the studio as a few crew members reacted under their breath. Harry's cheeks reddened, and he shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, his confidence slipped. "I'm just saying," he muttered, "people don't realize how hard it's been." "We do realize," Allison said. "But you also have an incredible platform. Most people never get that." Harry's jaw tightened. "So I'm privileged and shouldn't complain. That's what you're saying." Dermot shook his head. "No, Harry. We're saying, take responsibility for the way you speak to people. We welcomed you here. Kindly." Silence. Thick, awkward, unmissable. The interview hadn't just gone off script, it had flown into entirely new territory. Producers behind the glass frantically signaled, trying to salvage the situation, but the emotional momentum had shifted. Harry looked cornered, as though he hadn't expected any pushback. Perhaps he had assumed they would tiptoe around him the way American shows did. Then, in a moment that would trend online for the next 48 hours, Allison leaned forward, her tone warm but unshakably firm. "Harry, you can share your story without putting down everyone else in the room. That's all we're saying." Harry stared at her, speechless. Dermot added, "And you're on this morning. We keep it real here." The comment struck like lightning. Crew members froze. Harry swallowed hard, suddenly unsure whether to defend himself or retreat. And then he did the one thing nobody expected. He straightened up, looked directly at the camera, and said, "I feel set up." Gasps echoed around the studio. Dermot looked stunned. Allison's mouth fell open. "Set up," she repeated. "Harry, we asked normal questions." But Harry only stood up from his seat, on live television. The chaos had only just begun. Gasps swirled across the studio as Prince Harry rose abruptly from the sofa. For a moment, even the cameras hesitated, tracking his unexpected movement with jittery uncertainty. The control room erupted into frantic whispers. One producer covered her mouth with both hands, as if physically trying to stop herself from shouting. Allison Hammond instinctively reached out, her voice soft but steady. "Harry, love, sit down. We're still live, sweetheart." But Harry ignored her, pacing behind the sofas like a lion trapped in too small a cage. His security officer tensed, unsure whether to intervene on live television. Dermot glanced nervously at the floor manager, who simply held up a trembling hand, mouthing, "Let it play out." As if things couldn't get more surreal, Harry turned to face the hosts, frustration etched across his features. "You invited me here under false pretenses," he declared. "You said this would be a supportive interview." Dermot's eyebrows shot up. "Supportive doesn't mean silent, Harry. You came to talk. We let you talk. And we were very respectful," Allison added. "Nobody attacked you." Harry pointed a finger, voice rising. "You questioned my experience. You dismissed my challenges." Dermot inhaled slowly, squaring his shoulders. The usually cheerful presenter let the charm slip. This was the version of him viewers rarely saw. "No," he said firmly. "We asked you to consider other perspectives. That's not dismissal. That's conversation." Allison nodded. "It's called empathy. The thing you're always telling people to show you." Harry faltered, just slightly, but the tension clinging to him refused to loosen. The cameras captured every flicker of emotion on his face. Trying to calm the atmosphere, Allison attempted a pivot. "Harry, let's reset. We can start again. Talk about the documentary, the charity work." But Harry cut her off sharply. "Why should I continue when the tone is hostile?" Allison blinked, genuinely hurt. "Hostile? I'm the least hostile person on British television, darling." A ripple of nervous laughter traveled through the room. Harry, however, remained unconvinced. Dermot leaned back, folding his arms. "Look, you're not being attacked. You're being challenged. That's what grown-up interviews are." Harry stiffened. "I don't need lectures." "Then stop behaving like someone who does," Dermot replied before he could stop himself. The moment the words left his mouth, it was as though every molecule of air in the studio froze. Producers in the control room stared at each other in horror. A cameraman instinctively held his breath. Harry's face went pale. He looked genuinely stunned, not used to someone outside the royal circle speaking to him so bluntly. Allison, feeling the situation slipping into dangerous territory, jumped in quickly. Okay, let's all take a breather." But Harry wasn't listening anymore. He turned toward the camera, hands raised slightly, as if pleading with the unseen audience at home. "I came here to share my truth," he said dramatically. "And instead I'm met with ridicule and disrespect." Dermot scoffed. "Oh, come on." Harry spun around. "Don't interrupt me." A collective, "Ooh," escaped from the crew. Dermot's eyes widened. "Harry," he said calmly, "you're on this morning, not a Netflix special. You can't dictate the script." That comment sent the studio into silent shock. Even Allison covered her mouth for a second. Harry blinked rapidly, as if he couldn't believe Dermot had said it. His voice trembled, not with fear, but with indignation. "You're humiliating me." "No," Dermot corrected sharply. "You're doing that yourself." The words hit Harry like a slap. Allison could see the emotional wall crumbling behind his eyes. She stood up slowly, her tone shifting from warm to authoritative. "Harry, listen to me. You're a grown man. You've done many interviews. You know how this works. You can't blame everyone when you feel uncomfortable. Harry swallowed, visibly overwhelmed. And we are live, she continued. People are watching you right now. So breathe, and sit down. Her voice, usually bubbly and bright, carried a grounding weight. Even the audience at home, thousands of them, could feel it. Harry hesitated. His eyes drifted toward the sofa. For a moment, it looked like he might actually comply. But then, he shook his head. I'm not sitting back down, he said quietly. This environment is toxic. Dermot let out a humorless laugh. Funny. That's exactly how some people describe your interviews. Allison shot him a warning glare, but the words were already out there, bouncing off every wall in the studio. Harry turned to the floor manager. I want to leave. The manager, flustered beyond belief, whispered, We're still live, sir. I don't care. And with that, Prince Harry began walking toward the exit. But halfway across the studio, something unexpected happened. Allison called out, her voice a perfect blend of compassion, frustration, and unmistakable authority. Harry, if you walk out now, the world will think you can't handle a simple question. Is that really the image you want? Harry froze. Dermot watched him carefully. The entire studio held its breath. Harry turned around slowly, torn between pride, fear, and the painful truth in Allison's words. And then he said something that no one, absolutely no one, saw coming. You're right, but I still don't trust this show. The drama wasn't over. It was only just beginning.